A sample. When I teach, I use this. It's got back. It's got the peacock feather, and you can see here it's where it's a little more finished with colors. This one I painted on. My new favorite paint, one of my new favorite paints, is by Stuart Gill, which I go online to find because stores don't normally carry it. And then we have a dragonfly here that's all thread work. And ginkgo leaves, bamboo, just background here, filler. And instead of using black thread, I used the metallic kind of rainbow color one. And this one was done all together completely on a featherweight machine. And stitched the koi and the sun, all this was background, and it was metallic thread as well. And then this is the one that I did for a challenge again. I used, I kind of did thread play. I looked up a little bit of research in one of my folk art books to get some ideas for flowers. Here's the hummingbird with metallic threads. These are dragonflies with, I call prom fabric, with like an organza, an iridescent for their wings. And here is more koi, and I stitched this. This has no painting. This is dragonfly wings done with that heat and bond, ultra hold heat and bond. It was at the edge of the fabric. I didn't want to waste it, so I just clipped it out, and then I stitched his body on. So, and here's ultra hold again with the butterfly. And you can, once you get them pressed, you can stuck together 3 layers. Here's the back fabric, top, and then inside the middle would be your ultra hold. I then would heat that piece, and then I can form the wings, and they'll stay in shape. They really need to be redone. This has been folded up quite a while. So that's, and this one had to be a certain size, and I had it about 1 inch too big, so I ended up having to cut some. I thought maybe they would measure to see if I followed the rules, so I thought I'd better cut it. This one is another one that is a favorite one of mine. It's got paint here, Lumiere paint, and I got like prom fabric where I made water lilies, more paint, and then little garlands I found with little stones, which make real good flower centers, I think. So I used those. And then we have here a class I took from Barbara Chappelle, who's a fabulous quilter with thread play and 2-sided quilts. And I did this one. As you can see, again, I used dark blue thread in the quilting. Some black, actually, it looks like, and then the rest is dark blue. Painting, thread work, and the funky fabric. And this was Barbara's pattern, which reminded me of my fish, and I did all bright colors in mine, then stitched fish. And the back was meant to be kind of a 2-sided quilt with some thread play. Again, I put flowers. I put some fish. This is the front where the pattern is with those swirly shapes, and that's the quilting that I did in there. And more fish. And I even quilted on the sleeve. Had I been a really good person, I would have quilted this to match. I would have figured out where on the sleeve to make all this match. I didn't do that. But it was better than just a piece of black fabric. So, that's that one. And then we have this one, my favorite new piece here that I did. This is the one I did when I went to New York City to teach at City Quilter. And it's got some painting on it, it's got stitching, it's got crystals, it's got a lot of fun stuff going on. And so I'll lay that here so you can get some pictures. Again, 3-dimensional wings. Some of them need to be fixed up a little bit with the iron. They're getting a little wrinkled. So we have a peacock feather. This is a sample of some of the things I like to teach. We have peacock feathers. We have our daisy that I painted this time and put crystals. Dragonflies, koi, feathers, bamboo, which I showed you, and the sun, and the moon. We didn't do the moon yet. I'll save that for another time. Stars. And so it was just very fun. All these feathers here. And again, I stitched with dark blue thread in the background. Just for fun, I bought a lot of it, so I have a lot left. This is a finished quilt where I stitched peacock feathers all along the borders, as you can see here. This is a pattern from Sarah Nephew, who does beautiful work with the clear view triangle, and it's very simple to piece. There's no Y seams, and you do strip piecing and use that 60-degree diamond, and then I have space here. I purposely wanted a quilt where I had space, a negative space out here where I could put my peacock feathers, and I also did the Swarovski crystals, and I try to utilize a border print, so when I teach I can show people how to use a border print. So this is one that I did with all peacock feathers, and they're along the side. See if you can get a good shot of these. There's pictures along the side of the feathers, and then going in the blank space here, with my favorite thread. And then I left just black showing in some of these centers. And using a lot of crystals. Now the back of this quilt looks like this. And I tried to do a little thread painting on the back as well. So, and that was the back. Using the same thread in my bobbin as I did on top, so that they would paint on the back of this fabric. And you can see how black really brings out the fun colors when you're doing thread painting. Okay, this is the photo of my mother that I'm starting with, and you can see it's about a 4x6, and I'm going to make it into this big giant 48 by 36 size roughly quilt. And that's the pattern I'm going to kind of use as my guide. And I got my photo printed on printed treasures, which is something that goes right through your copy machine. It's very easy to do. And once you get the photo, and then you can, it's how I did my father as well, and my nephew, photographed it and stuck it on there and filled it all in with the background and the foreground. And it's just not tedious. It just takes time to get all the right fabrics. You need lots of different colors, lots of different textures, lots of different scaled fabrics. And it's easy to do, but it does take a look. It took me 6 months to do my father. And this needs to be ready by March. So 3 months. My favorite quilts, I call it Orangelicious. My friend Steffi came up with that name. And I had this border, which I love. It's one of my favorite all-time fabrics. I believe it's a Michael Miller. I have another probably 20 yards of it, because every time I see it, I buy it. It's pretty much out of print, but sometimes you can find it in a shop. And I use a lot of my favorite colors in the star. I have different sized polka dots, as you can see. The reason for that is because when I started making this, I did a screw up on my cutting, and I didn't have enough of the large polka dots. So then I thought, well, I'll have 4 corners, and I'll make these with another polka dot, smaller version, and I think I actually like it better. So that's what happens. You make an accident, and I always say good quilters know how to fix their messes. And I'm real good at that, fixing up my mistakes. And this is another favorite one of mine. This is called, I call this one Ooh La La. It's another favorite fabric. I've seen this still around and about, and it's another Lone Star. When I made this, I intended for all these little border pieces, diamonds, triangles, to be diamonds in the center, and then with this background. So when I got the quilt all on the wall and looked at it, it looked terrible, so I took all the diamonds in the center of the star, I took them all down, and decided to change it all out to just black and white, which is much better with this background. And then I had all those diamonds I'd cut with the right colors, but the wrong in the wrong place. I cut them in half and used them on my border. There you can see them on the border. And again, I love this quilt. And the back is fun. I put on the back just some fun things. My friend gave me the sleeve fabric, so that was from Opal, my friend, that we quilt together. And oh, before I forget, I have to show you the back of my other favorite that we saw, the Orangelicious. I happen to have that beautiful piece of floral. And it's, this was in my stash, this big center. Normally I wouldn't put white on a quilt, but I thought that looked so fun that it would be fine. So that's what I did. And that's the back of that quilt. Over here I have another favorite that I like a lot. It's a frog quilt. This was a challenge. And it's from, the challenge was using green, lime green, which I wanted to get. That was the color I hoped I'd get. I picked that color out of the bucket, and I did frogs. I knew I wanted to do frogs, and all in lime greens. And I did twisty, again, the vine things, and three-dimensional leaves, lots of funky fabric and yarn, and also, again, using crystals. And I experimented with this big, thick border, which was fabric wrapped around the cording. The one thing I learned from that was I should have left more fabric when I wrapped the cording. I was a little chintzy with my fabric. I should have left another good inch. So next time I would do this with wider fabric going around the cording. But I still like it. And I learned. You can see I do three-dimensional leaves. Sometimes I put two fabrics on a piece of batting. Sometimes I use heavy-duty heat and bond, and I fuse two pieces of fabric with heavy-duty heat and bond, and then the edges can be unstitched. They don't unravel, and I did that on these. That's heavy-duty heat and bond. See, there's no raveling on that. Again, I've got organza here, and used a wave blade on this one. You can see the wave blade cutter makes the wiggly edges. This was a fun piece to do. And then this is another challenge, kind of a fun one. One day I lost my cell phone in my fish pond. So I thought that would make a good story for a quilt. So a couple years later I actually put the fish holding my cell phone. This was before I even had a smartphone, and I put those little, I guess they're apps on there. And then I just put the rocks around and funky fabric for the lilies. And then cut fish again out of fabric, just using fish in fabric and cutting it out. And then there's stitching here. Tulle over the whole thing again, black tulle. And that was fun. And then I found this on Golden Pond. It was a salvage. Salvages are always fun to work with, if you can find a good one. So that's a couple more quilts.